Hello there. I just wanted to get on here and talk about a few things that have been in my mind recently. So let's just get right into it. Last weekend on February the 22nd, it was actually the 10-year anniversary of the initial release of Battlekid 1. It's hard to believe that it's been that long. I kind of wanted to upload this video on that day, but it just didn't happen. But today's February 29th, a day that comes once every 4 years, so at least there's that. The Famicom version has also been out for over a year now, and speaking of which, I wanted to post a playthrough and commentary video for that version, but I just haven't finished the video yet. The main playthrough with the commentary has been recorded, however. I just wanted to put some more content into the video. Mainly some points after the playthrough, but I just haven't fully decided on it yet. I also need to rewatch the video to help me decide on those points. The entire playthrough was a little over 2 hours, so it's going to take me some time to actually watch that and then decide on the points, but I'll get around to it. So that'll be something to look forward to in the near future. But anyway, one thing that's been on my mind and mainly why I wanted to make this video is where do we go from here with the games? In some of my recent videos before this one, I saw some people commenting and asking about the third game, but I'm sorry to say that no progress has been made on that front. I do have some ideas on things that I would like to put in the game, sure, but getting started is the real issue here. To better help you understand, I'm going to share some things about my current situation, as well as how the situation was when developing the Famicom version. So when the production started, I thought that it would have been an easy process just to get it done and get it done quickly, actually, as all of the assets were basically already done. I had all the enemies, music, levels, graphics all decided in advance. But the project wound up being around 2 years of development. I greatly underestimated what having a full-time job would do to the production schedule. As it turns out, the Famicom version actually wasn't even 100% of the game I wanted either. I was in a partnership with the publisher, Columbus Circle, and they wanted to get the game out, and in the end I had to cut some content that I had planned. If there's one thing that I feel is the bane of the creative arts, it would have to be deadlines. But I understand, due to a business partnership that I had to draw the line somewhere. But if I had the chance to do it again, I will in fact add what I want to add. So that's how things were for the Famicom version. If I were to start a new game now, though, I'd have to have all the assets made up in addition to doing all the programming. And being a third game, I'd of course want it to be on a higher level than its predecessors. And it's not that I don't want to do it, but it's more that I don't want to make something just to make it or rush something together. If I put something out, I want it to be something that I will be happy with and I will enjoy. And of course, I want it to be something that the players will of course enjoy. It's just that my current situation is likely going to be difficult at this time. And I don't necessarily think I would want to do another homebrew. So that leads me to another thing that's been on my mind, and it's actually been on my mind for quite a while. And around the time that the Famicom port was announced, I was looking around at some of the English websites to see what kind of news was out there. And there was one that has stuck with me this whole time and is still online as of this video. It comes from a site called Den of Geek and was posted on June 20th, 2018. I'll post a link to the article in the description, and just to clarify, I don't know nor have I ever spoken with the person who wrote it, but towards the end there was a part that I'll quote here. The practice of releasing modern or modernish games on classic platforms has become somewhat more popular in recent years, but it certainly hasn't reached the levels of the vinyl record industry's revival. Civet Games' refusal to release Battlekid via other platforms is certainly an odd move, even for a time when gamers are clearly craving retro experiences more than ever. So yeah, the word refusal I disagree with, as the idea of porting the game is something that I have always pondered. The big problem is I honestly don't have any idea of where to actually start. If anything were to begin, I would of course want involvement in the creation process. Having worked as a web developer and programmer, I'm always interested in learning new things, and I'd be interested to see what a development environment, especially from this decade, would look like. But most of all, I just want the game to be as I envision it, no content being omitted, etc. Now, I'm not making any promises or announcements, but one thing I wanted to ask you, the viewers, is if something like this actually could happen, What would you want to see? If you were me, how would you approach it? What platform or platforms would you target, like the Nintendo Switch, Steam? Would you want to see something that's more or less graphically the same as the NES version? Or would you want to see something with updated graphics? Is there anything else that you'd want to see? Please write your thoughts in the comments section, and thank you very much in advance. Okay, now I want to talk about something else. The idea of working on a project like I just mentioned sounds great, and I think would be very refreshing for me. However, there lies another problem apart from just figuring out where to start, and that would be dedicating the time to such a project. After all, making games takes time, as I'm sure that you are aware. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that I underestimated the timetable for making the Famicom port, as my full-time job was the main issue. If you're watching this video and don't actually know, I actually live in Japan, and I've been here for almost 8 years as of this recording. And don't get me wrong, I do love it here. The only thing is I wish I could be more free with how I live my life. Being on a work visa, I am required to maintain a full-time job. And however, if I had the option, I honestly would prefer to go part-time for a while and focus on some of the things that I really just want to do. But sadly, that is just not an option. I mentioned earlier that I've been working in web development and programming, and I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. Through the job, I'd like to think that I've become well versed in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. And the only thing is, though, a lot of the things don't really change in this job despite the fact that we're making new sites. One thing in particular that really bothers me is the company's insistence on using old or outdated tech. Yes, you heard that right. A guy like me who puts out games on tech from over 30 years is complaining about outdated tech. But in this case, it's justified. Unlike a project for homebrew, where I voluntarily choose an old platform and voluntarily choose to limit myself, here we have the company who is actually limiting me due to their choices to stick with old tech rather than update. Like for example, I may want to do certain things or use certain functionality, only to find out that due to the site using a version of PHP that's from like maybe 8 years ago, it's not available, and that can be very frustrating at times. Other times I'll see projects that use not only the old tech, but how can I say, they're unnecessarily repetitive. Like I'll see the exact same function doing the exact same things in two different parts of the program, only with maybe a minor variable change. Like you'll have two functions, like function A and kind of like function A2, and they're the exact same things, but no, you can just combine those into one function, and then that's much more efficient. If you're involved in programming, one thing you should definitely apply to your work, and apply to your work zealously, is something that I found out the name of recently, and that's called the DRY principle, DRY. So it stands for don't repeat yourself. And basically, if you can find a way to do something or do the same kind of tasks in one way, just do that. It makes for more efficient programming, and if you want to update something, you just update the one thing, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to update the same thing in 10 different files. Just update one file, and there you go. You have 10 places where it's all updated. So yeah, and it's one of those things that's difficult to master. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a master by any means, but it's just something that you practice, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes. So yeah, the main problem with all of the issues that I mentioned is that they can just really, they can make the project take a lot more time than it should, and it just gets very draining on the individual, I find. And the fact is, I see this across multiple sites. If it was just one site and it was the person's first time programming, I could understand that. That's fine. Nobody's going to be outstanding as a programmer on their first time. And hopefully, as you work and you do more things, you'll learn some lessons, and then later on your next site will be better, and the site after that will be even better. But what I'm finding is that they're just churning out the same basic thing, basically the same thing every time, just to get the work done, and that just feels so bad. It really does. But anyway, I could go on and tell, certain programming stories, but that would turn this into a very negative video, and ranting on camera really isn't my thing. So let's go on to something else. Apart from the programming quirks, though, the company's also been really big on SEO lately, which stands for search engine optimization. And I understand that's very important for websites, and if customers don't find your site, then that's also bad. But they want us, the programmers, to really do it, and I find that to be more of a marketing thing rather than a programming thing. So, and I understand certain aspects about it, but it's marketing, and I feel like marketing should go to marketing people and programming should go to programming people. Combining the two together is not necessarily something that will work. So anyway, that's just kind of my thought about the company. Long story short, though, there have been a lot of frustrations, especially in the past 6 months. But if I could, I would like to get out of the situation. But at this time, it's just not something that I can do legally. I do like what I'm doing, and I would like to continue what I'm doing, but I'd like to do so on my own terms, really. Strip out the parts that I don't like and just focus on the ones that I do. Freelancing is something that I've never actually done, but if the opportunity arose, I would be kind of interested in trying that. It's just not something, though, that foreigners can do in Japan legally, unless they more or less create their own company. And to do that, you need a lot of capital and a lot of documentation, among other things. So that's not something that I would see myself doing anytime soon. The other option would be permanent residency, where you can basically do what you want vocationally. You're not restricted. You can work part-time. You can not work if you want to, but that's just not going to be an option for me for another 2 years. Most individuals have to be here 10 years in a row just to even become eligible for that. So, but it's something that I am aiming for. But as of right now, I kind of feel like I'm in a stuck position. I know where I'd like to be. It's just getting there is going to take some doing, that's for sure. But I'll keep working at it, and I will keep doing what I'm doing. So, with that said, I think that's going to wrap up this video. If you have any thoughts, please write them in the comment section below. So, thank you very much for listening, and see you in the future.